Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestle Horror. Greetings, viewers and listeners. Meat Hook Jim here with the Wrestle Horror Podcast. And on this episode, we're going to revisit a talk with Tom Williams of War Wrestling. And joining us, as always, of course, is Donnie Hoover.
Hey, everybody.
Our play-by-play man, Mr. John Orlando.
Hello, how is everybody doing this evening?
And the guest of the hour, Mr. Tom Williams with War Wrestling. Tom, how are you today?
I am fantastic. How about you guys?
Couldn't be better. It's been a day.
It's one day closer to being Friday, right?
That is for sure.
Exactly.
And now I understand that we're going to talk about sponsorships with promoters and things like that, as Donnie was mentioning. So, Tom, you are a great speaker, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Was you going to say something, Donnie?
Oh no, I was just gonna mention that we feel that this is an important topic, or I feel this is an important topic that we wanted to cover, because as we had discussed earlier in previous talks, sponsorship is a major player when it comes to promoting wrestling events, and a sponsorship can make an event or break an event, no matter how you look at it. So they're not easy to do. I mean, I struggle with them myself. So I just wanted to bring you on because I know you guys do very well with the sponsorship side of things. And so we were just kind of wanting you to come on so we could pick your brain. Maybe some people out there could learn a little something and try to help them out with the sponsorship side of it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you 100%, Donnie, on the sponsorship stuff. It took us a very, very long time to get people to realize that there's value in what we're bringing to them. A lot of places around here, they'll sponsor, one or two shows and this, that, and the other, like if we do a show that's catered to the veterans, we may get somebody that is a veteran that owns a business and he wants to throw some money towards it or whatever. But for the most part, the way I look at it is my philosophy may be a little bit different than others. A lot of promoters and promotions, they want to try to go after the big fish. And what I mean by that is they want to go to that one big car lot who, does $20,000 a month worth of advertising, and they're going to ask them for $5,000 for one show. And I'm a little bit different. I would much rather go to, say, 10, 15 mom and pop places and get $100 a piece from them. Because it's easier for those businesses to come up with $100 instead of $500, $1,000, whatever. And you also get 15 businesses whose customers are seeing the advertising, who are seeing their logo, who are word of mouth, and that sort of thing. So, that's the big thing from us, and I also will say this, some of our sponsorships is actually in trade, and it's not necessarily the monetary part. One of my big ones, whatever, is we have a local pizza place here who, we put pizza box flyers on their pizzas, and that sort of thing. And I give her radio and TV and, whatever other forms, their names on the back of tickets and stuff like that. But in exchange, instead of money, she actually gives us 16, 14-inch pizzas every single show we do. And we sell those for, $2.50 a slice. So, at the end of the day, those 16 pizzas at $2.50 a slice, you're making about $350 off of that pizza, and that's 100% profit. A lot of people don't understand that. It's little small things like that. We've actually had a drive-through before donate us all the soda and water and Gatorade and all that for one of the shows in exchange for advertising. So it's not always the monetary part that people, need or want. Out of it. So that's the big thing for me. I got a record store, he sponsors a couple shows here and there, but the cool thing about him is if I need, an obscure song that one of the guys used for entrance music, hey, I go to him like, hey, can you hook me up with this song or whatever, and 99.99% of the time he has that song, or he knows how to get it. So yeah, that's the big thing for me, I think we average about, I want to say, anywhere between $750 to $1,000 worth of sponsors every show. And that doesn't include, the trade stuff. And, like, I'll give you a good example. One of my buddies is a caterer, and he does meal prep and stuff like that. He's catered food for all the guys. And to me, that still saves me money at the end of the day. you know? So that's the thing you got to think about. It ain't necessarily always the financial part, the money aspect that can help you now and or down the road, because all these small businesses, we're all looking for connections to branch out and to help each other. And, you know, if I say, hey, I got Limehouse Finest Food Company on board as a sponsor, hey, go look for, you know, if you see him online, check out his business or whatever, and then they start ordering food from him and this, that, and the other, then it's a win-win situation for everybody involved.
Tom, I'm going to ask real quick because, I mean, I've seen it with my own two eyes that a lot of times sponsorships, I feel, are a two-way street between both you, the promoter, and the local business. And I've seen many, many times that responsibility of the sponsors themselves kind of fall by the wayside. Have you had that experience where you have a business that says, yeah, I'm going to give you the $200 you asked. All you're asking me to do is hand out flyers or whatever, and they don't do it? Because, I mean, I think that has plagued indie wrestling for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, it's all one big business cycle. And I will say this, a majority, I would say 95% of the people that I deal with on a sponsorship basis know me personally. You know,
Okay.
You know, they know me personally, or they know someone that knows somebody type thing, and we're all, you know, mutually connected. I always use this as an analogy, and I'm sure if any of you guys have ever been in a sales world job, it's hard to go into a place on a cold call. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You know, where you're walking in and you're saying, hey, this is what I have to offer you. Can you throw some money at me? You know what I mean? That's very, very rare. I mean, unless you find that manager or owner of a business that is a diehard wrestling fan, most of the time you're going to get told no. That's just a cold hard fact, because, you know, they don't look at wrestling as that can help them. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, you know, John and Donnie know this or whatever, you know, most wrestling shows in the area in the last 10, 15 years, you're happy to get 200 people. Mm-hmm. You know, where, you know, so are you really, really, really touching, you know, are you spending that money wisely? If you go to, you know, if you go to a business, you're saying, hey, we draw 200 people or whatever, can you give me $200? Most of the time, they're not going to do that, you know, especially on a cold call. That's what I call a cold call, is if you walk into a business and you don't know them, they don't know you, and you're like, hey, I'm doing this, blah, 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 blah. Most of the time, they're going to be like, hey, I'd much rather spend that $200 on a radio spot, you know, or whatever, you know. So, yeah, I mean, most of my connections are personal, you know, or they just know that what we've done over the years. You know, if we say we're going to do something, we do it. You know, we're very, very fortunate, you know, like we've done some sold shows and went to charity and that sort of thing. And, you know, you, Donnie and John, and know this for a fact, you know, wrestling has a very, 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 very bad rep. And what I mean by that is, you know, a lot of these guys will just take the money and run. And they don't never get what's promised to them, you know. And that's another thing too that I do whenever I do anything with a new business. It's not a handshake agreement; it's a legit contract, and it says, "Hey, we're going to deliver this, this, and this, and you're going to give me this, this, and this." And that's just the way it is, you know. I mean, you know, you got to protect yourself, and you also got to protect the business, you know, that you're doing work for. You know, another thing that I don't try to do is I don't try to have, say, 2 pizza places as a sponsor, because to me, I want that sponsor to feel that, you know, they got exclusivity or whatever, and that I'm going to give them 110% every single time that they give me money or, you know, give me pizzas or whatever, that, you know, I'm not going to pit the one pizza place against the other pizza place, you know. So that's, you know, it's a big, huge thing. But you're absolutely right, John, as far as like, you know, you got definitely go above and beyond, and you definitely got to sell yourself that, you know, you're going to reach the masses. I will say one of the big advantages now, I say in the past 8 to 10 years, is social media. And the reason why I say that is, you know, we tag, you know, some of the local businesses that we do on our business page. And, you know, we got, you know, 6,000 followers, this, that, and the other. You know, and if you tag them or share that poster or whatever, then, you know, their friends are seeing it and this, that, and the other, you know. So that is one aspect that's really, really good. You know, like with us, you know, we put their names on tickets and posters and programs, and, you know, whatever we do to promote our show, their name and or logo goes on everything that we do, regardless if they give me $50 or $500, we go above and beyond for them 100% every single time.
Yeah, and I think the thing too that I was, hitting on is I can remember, in my tenure, specifically with OCW, you go to a business and that business says, yeah, we're going to do this. Yeah, we'll give you money and we'll do this. Like for an example, we'll hand out flyers, but then when you go back in, that stack of flyers is still this big. Shit.
Oh yeah.
That's frustrating. You've run into that, I'm sure. Donnie, know what I'm talking about. It's happened quite numerous times. That the sponsor has to understand that there's a relationship there. That hey, if they're handing out these flyers, those people that are coming to the show, they're seeing their name, they're getting more mentions. And I think sometimes sponsors don't think that way. They think it's like, oh, you give me these flyers, I'll hand them out. Well, you know what? If I forget, no big deal.
Well,
no, it's a big deal.
Well, I think in that case, and I'll be totally honest with you, that's where it comes into the case of if the people know you on a personal level. Right.
Sure.
Because they know that, on a personal level, you know them, you know what I mean? And in certain cases, I will say this, a couple $100 may not be that much to a sponsor or whatever, but to us, $200 is, a few guys' payroll for the night, or half the building, or whatever it ends up being, So I think that's the big thing with us is, like I said, it's taken us a very, very long time. And I will tell this, and I know Donnie said, that's one of his downfalls. Still, to me, 17 years later, I still struggle with it because pro wrestling is such a hard sell. It's such a hard sell. I think the one advantage that we have is they know that we do a lot of pro bono work or charity work in the community, and so they know, that that couple $100 may help us, donate more tickets to the local food pantry, or donate money to the food pantry, or whatever it ends up being. So to me, it's a double-edged sword. We do a lot of charity work, but you also need to make money to continually run to do the charity work.
Yep.
So it's a double-edged sword. It truly is. But that's the one thing that's good about us is I will say in this area where we run, the people consider us a brand. And they know that we're going to go above and beyond, and they know that if we say, hey, we're going to put your name on the poster and put your name on in the programs or whatever, we don't not do that. We do it. Actually, it's pretty funny. I just ate at a restaurant last night, and the owner is kind of struggling a little bit. He's a personal friend or whatever. I've known him he went to Lima Senior, the same schools as me. And I went in there and ate just to, shoot the shit with him and this, that, and the other. And he looked at the back of the ticket and he said, what the hell? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, why'd you put my business on the back of that? I said, dude, it ain't about you physically giving me money. It's about you succeeding and helping me, not this year, but 5 years from now. You know what I mean? What's it hurt me to put his name on the back of a ticket or whatever and to advertise his business or whatever if, 10 of our wrestling fans go to his business? That's 10 people that didn't know about that business that now are going to frequent it, So that's the big thing, I mean, it ain't always, like I said, go back to it ain't always about the money aspect or whatever. But you're absolutely right, John. I mean, you just got to get the people over the mentality that it's not the carny things or whatever that you're, and I tell people this all the time, and I do this, and I don't know if Donnie's done it or whatever, but if I give tickets to a business, I want them to come. I want them to physically come and see what we're doing. I tell people this all the time. Seeing is believing, because everyone has this different interpretation of what good wrestling is, what bad wrestling is. And you know what? I'm a firm believer is when you physically see it and you see the fans get into it and the production value and the heart and soul that goes into something, then I think that makes it a little bit easier on that business to give you a little bit of money or willing to work with you a little bit, I'll give you a good example. We got a comic book company that he had did business with another company that came into town, like one of those fly-by-night companies or whatever. And so happens one of his employees is actually ended up being my PR girl. And the very first time I ever met him, now mind you, he doesn't watch wrestling. He knows nothing about wrestling. He's like, man, I'm meeting with you because my employee says you guys are the real deal. He said, are you affiliated with, XYZ? And I said, absolutely not, sir. Well, then 3 of his other employees came to the show, and they're live tweeting it, and they're showing pictures of the crowd and all that, and they're tagging him or whatever. Well, now lo and behold, they're a ticket outlet. Because to me, comic books and pro wrestling is one and the same.
Yeah.
But he had that, and he had it set in his mind that we were all the same, we were all grouped the same, that he had been burnt previous, and he wasn't going to give me no money. So it's like, so I'm like, all right, here's some tickets, come and see it. Well, 3 of his employees ended up coming and seeing the show, and they ended up liking it and being a part of it. And like I said, the one girl now, she actually works for me as my PR girl. And, so, if we wouldn't have made that connection, then they would have never came. They would have never been a ticket outlet. They would have never realized that, the comic books and the wrestling are one and the same as far as the fan base.
Right.
So.
Cool. If I could put you on the spot here for a second, I want to put you on the spot with a question, and then I want to tell you, I want to be the devil's advocate and tell you a story, and then I'll let you go on a rant, which I know you will after I tell the story.
Me, Donnie, what are you talking about?
Yeah. But first, say, like, for an example, you're talking about going in to people and that they don't, whether they know wrestling or not. So just for an example, we've been saying pizza shops. So say that you are, the owner of a pizza shop, and you already know that they're not into wrestling. It's just not their thing. And what would you do to walk in there and talk to them about sponsoring your show and giving you money or pizzas in exchange for putting flyers on the boxes? I mean, how would you go about approaching them to do that?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me would be, to sell, if it's family friendly or, that sort of thing or whatever, tap into it that, if they eat the pizza at the wrestling show, then, there may be a chance that, 4 out of those 10 people that get the slice of pizza are going to end up going to their shop outside of the wrestling show and buying pizza from them. That's a big, huge thing, especially on food and that sort of thing. It's one of those things where, everybody is fighting for the same thing if you're a small business owner. And, as you know, as well as me, Donnie, is most wrestling fans have very limited disposable income.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to tap into that, and I do know, you're exactly right. You got to be able to sell what you're giving them. That it's going to be worth their while, and that's the reason why I say go in maybe a little bit lower than what you normally would. If you think you can get $250 out of the guy, out of somebody, maybe go in and say, you'll do it for $150, and then once they see, that it's beneficial to them, beneficial to you, they see the crowd, they see, what you're doing in the community and that sort of thing, then they more be up, they might, end up saying they'll give you the $250. You definitely got to start, you can't go in game busters and think, that, you're going to go and you're going to end up being get corporate Papa John's, for instance, to be a sponsor,
Right.
But it's just not going to happen. And really, and I will say this, dealing with corporate is a different beast altogether. We dealt with corporate up this way with Monster Energy. A few years ago, we had Monster Energy drink as a sponsor. And it was because they were affiliated with Budweiser, and we don't sell beer. But just to deal with them on a corporate level was just insane on every level. It was just like, you jump over this hurdle, you got 10 more to jump over.
Right.
So I'd much rather just deal with the mom and pops, the mom and pop places or whatever, that if you can get 10 of your fans to go there and buy pizza from them on a weekly basis, then that's going to help their bottom line and help your bottom line.
Right. Yeah, here's an idea I just thought of as you were saying that stuff. What an idea of like making a personalized coupon or a special coupon for the wrestling fans to take there and use that way that the pizza shop knows that they came from.
We actually not necessarily pizza, but we've actually done that with the local bowling alley. Where we put in a coupon in all of our programs and passed out stuff or whatever, and basically what it was is they got I think $1 off a game or $2 off a game for bowling or free shoe rental or whatever. That way they could physically see, hey, they gave out 500 coupons and we got 100 of them back. Hey, that's beneficial to us. So yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Maybe even print up a specialized flyer that kind of like on the bottom of the thing would be like, hey, $2 off general admission. or something to your show. That way, that way they know, type thing. Or even like you said, even if they're willing to, give you a discount on pizzas, that way they know that ain't hurting their bottom line, that, hey, they can go try this pizza and it's $2 off. So yeah, absolutely. Right. Anything like that, that helps everybody and gets more people to the shows, gets more people to know about their business. I know a big thing for us with our upcoming Queen of War is we actually we're selling vendor space, and we're catering this show to all. It's basically women. We got a woman ring announcer, women referees, woman authority figure. It's all women or whatever, and we've catered it to where we got women businesses that are going to buy vendor space and booth space and that sort of thing, whatever, because it's all about empowering the little girl. And, the wrestlers are going to be bigger than life to these little girls, so that's an angle that we take with this show, and that's my PR girl. That's 100% what she did. I'm not a girl, so I can't relate to that, but she's like, hey, let's, and it's always good to bounce ideas off of people and that sort of thing. I'm not a one-man band as far as ideas and stuff like that. So yeah, we had a pizza place for years and years and years as a sponsor, Regali's Pizza. But the thing was, it was a personal connection because one of my wrestlers, Dusty Dillinger, was a manager of it. Right. So yeah, I would say, start with the mom and pop places that know you on a personal level and that sort of thing. But anything, I tell anybody this. I'll give you a good example. Ripper Blackheart runs a one show a year in his hometown, which is Bell Center, Ohio, and we do it during 4th of July. And it's a 100% free show. Now, if you know anything about this show and about the town, it doesn't even have a stoplight. Okay. But we took it on the chin one year and we went and did the show, and we say we're the fireworks before the fireworks. And they loved it. They loved it. They loved to be a part of it. Well, now here it is 10 years later. These businesses come and sponsor that show. They pay for 100% for that show or whatever, because, it's helping them, because from X amount of hour to X amount of hour, if we wasn't there, then those people aren't buying the elephant ears and the soda and whatever else prior or whatever. So it's a win-win situation. And this year we actually got like $2,200 worth of sponsors. And Corey's big thing is he don't care if it's $20, $30, or $300. It all adds up at the end of the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and I think we had almost 30 sponsors this year for this show. And like I said, it's such a small town, it doesn't even have a stoplight.
Very cool.
But 10 years later, we proved that we're an asset to the fireworks, an asset to the community, and that people were willing to put in money, to make sure that it's there. And I know this too, Donnie. Like you talked about the state fair and all of that, and you had to prove yourself and all that. I think that's the biggest thing, even with sponsorship. You have to prove yourself. You have to. There's, no one's going to, especially with the way the economy is, no one's just going to open up their wallet and hand you money for nothing. I don't know one business owner that's willing to do that.
Right.
Well, I'm going to ask a quick question about that. Tom and Donnie, if you had a sponsor that was willing to give you money, but maybe they were controversial in the neighborhood, what would be your take on that?
Good question.
What do you mean by controversial? Like they sell dildos or something? Or
what'd you say?
I said, what do you mean? Like they sell dildos or something? Or what do you mean?
Yeah, like sex shop, vape stores.
Well, I will tell you this. Well, I'm glad that you say that, John Orlando, because we have what they call a head shop in this town. It's called the 420 Clinic, and they deal with paraphernalia, water bombs, whatever you want to call it. They have their own spin on it to make it legal. I don't deal with them at all, and I'd actually been approached about doing that a few years ago or whatever. With the flip side of that now is I actually have a very good friend who owns a vape shop. And it's 100% legal, blah, 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 but it's also affiliated with a tattoo parlor. And they just want to be mentioned, to be a part of what we're doing. They leave it to my discretion. Actually, it's pretty funny because, with the controversy of vaping and this, that, and the other. But here's the reality of it is until the government says it's illegal or whatever, to me, it's just another form of smoking a cigarette without the nicotine and all that. You know what I mean? I guess it just depends on what your values are.
Mhm.
You know, it's funny you say that because we've actually been approached by a few people with the girl show of selling pure romance. And they asked about, they actually asked about setting up a booth, you know, and this, that, and the other. And my response was, you know what, if you can keep it discreet, you know, who is to me to tell that lady not to buy a vibrator? You know what I mean? Like, I can't prevent that, you know, but I will say this, you know, I would definitely be hesitant about certain things. You know, I don't know. What do you think, Donnie? I mean, what do you think? Because I know you've had some sponsors with stuff.
Yeah, with our standing with the people that we work with, we kind of have to be more like strict on that. Because I know, like, even Pure Romance or like Lions Den or anything like that, the Arnold and the Fair, they're not going to have any of that at all.
Yep.
Right.
And I mean, I don't even know about vaping. Vaping would probably be a toss up. Just depends on how they feel that day. You know, even though it's not illegal, they, especially with the Arnold, could being at the Kids and Teens Expo, and it's designed for kids and teens. So, I mean, I'm a little more tied. My hands are a little more tied on certain things like that. So a lot of things I have to say no on, that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I mean, I like you, I kind of agree with you. I don't see nothing wrong with the Pure Romance if it's discreet. I don't see nothing wrong with the vaping if it's legal, you know, and stuff like that.
Not to interject, Donnie, but I mean, I just threw that out there because I think that was the first thing that popped in my head when we were talking about sponsorships. And I think at any level, people can be offended by anything nowadays.
Oh yeah.
So it doesn't matter. I mean,
At the drop of a hat.
yeah, right. I mean, it is sadly how it is nowadays. But you know, I just was, you know, just kind of curious as to what the take would be. You know, if hey, well, here's a couple grand, but you know, you got to advertise this product, which may cause some ramifications, overall for you in the promotion.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would cost me, and because like I said, I'm not as well established as War is, and I don't have the solid fan base to go off of. But yeah, if I did something like that, it may like hurt my chances of continuing to work with the Arnold people and continuing to work with the fair. And I don't think $1,000 or $2,000 would be worth risking that.
Yeah, right.
So I would.
Yeah, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that, Donnie. I mean, at some point in time, you have to draw a line in the sand and realize that, instead of that, what I call short-term money, you got to be thinking long-term money. I tell people that all the time. It's like, I know right now that I could go and get, a couple sponsors in this area if I needed money or whatever. I know I could do it, but it's a short-term solution, to a long-term thing. I'd much rather have, a $500 sponsor for 10 years instead of a $1,000 sponsor.
For one,
So that's the thing. You just, and that's a personal preference, because, you get some people, I tell people all the time, I know people in the wrestling business, they'll still nickel off a dead man. They don't care. They don't care, so it just depends on what you bring to the table and your morals and your values and what you want to portray. Like with us, we don't say we're family friendly, but we also don't, every other word out of the wrestler's mouth ain't a cuss word. I actually went to a show this past Thursday up in Toledo, Ohio, and he's gearing it more towards an extreme, a more adult show per se, whatever. And I was very, very, very taken back that probably a third of his crowd was kids. And the very first 3 matches, everybody, all the guys that were bad guys were coming out, flipping the fans off and telling them to suck it and, this, that, and the other. And I'm sitting there thinking, if I came to that show as my parents, as a parent or whatever, that may offend me. I mean, it may, you know what I mean? That's the reason why, like I said, kind of getting off topic a little bit, but that's why I don't say that we're family friendly or family entertainment per se, because my interpretation of family entertainment may not be the same as someone else's.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I say there's different genres of wrestling. There's what we do. I mean, we there's a cuss word that slips every now and again, but we don't do, the extreme or the nudity or the vulgarity. We have to keep it clean for the people we work with. But there's other promotions that, that's their specialty, and there's a fan base for it. They go and they do the nudity spots or the half spots, or there's a lot of profanity and sexual innuendos, and there's a fan base for it. So, I mean, it's just whatever the people, decide they want to do. There's nothing wrong with them liking both parts. I mean, I would like to go see a family friendly show with my grandkids, but I'd also like to go grab a beer and watch Joey Ryan do the dick flip or whatever.
I was getting ready to say Joey Ryan.
Yeah. I mean, so you could like both, like all the different versions and stuff. And but I mean, as for like certain things, I mean, like for example, we do work with a tattoo parlor. 22 Caliber Tattoos is one of our sponsors, and and so I mean something like that. Part tattoos is legal. Some people think it's bad, some people don't. It's just what you think and their personal preference. And they're actually next year at the Fortress Obets they're doing a arts festival there for 2 days, and we're actually going to be the main entrance in their arts festival. So as soon as you walk into the Fortress, New Ohio Wrestling is going to be there. And as a participant in that festival, and there's going to be like tattoo shops, there's going to be car shows, there's going to be bands. So it's not going to be. There's even going to be a kids section. They're not going to be doing. They are going to sell alcohol. So I mean, it's just kind of a give and take. You just kind of weigh it. Like, is that too much? Is that crossing the line? Like Tom said, you got to draw a line in the sand. Just and in our opinions, and I ain't gonna lie, I've even asked Lee at the Arnold, her opinion on it, and she didn't have an issue with the tattoo parlor. And
but you gotta, right, John. That's what I was going to say. And also you got to look at it from the aspect now of, I know people that are doctors and lawyers that are tattooed from head to toe.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not as taboo as what it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. You know what I mean? It's not, I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, my wife's in the medical field and she's got she's got like 10 tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 or 4 of them you can see every single time, every day. You know what I mean? So the taboo part of it or whatever, I definitely agree with. It's like we said, it's just finding that niche. And I will tell you guys this, and Donnie knows me as a person. I won't sell my soul to the devil just to make money. Me and my company have donated $350,000 back to the local community. Over the last 17 years. That money could have went to me and my family. There's a bigger picture there or whatever that, you can use something that you love as a tool. That's the one good thing about Donnie and what he's doing down there in the Columbus market is it's being seen. And also he's building, a reputation or whatever of being involved with things that attract people from all over the world, all over the, different walks of life. There might be a guy sitting in the crowd at the state fair who, he's a lawyer making $10 million a year, and right next to him was the guy that's the local garbage man. You know what I mean? It does. That's the whole thing. Is you just got to do what you feel in your heart is right. And you got to realize that you are, in Donnie's case and in my case, I guess, our wrestlers are seen as stars. And you gotta, if like in my case or whatever is I'm well known in the community, so, I know if I get, caught doing something or whatever, that it's going to have a reflection onto the promotion, onto the company, Donnie, and I know Donnie knows this, we've worked our asses off for 17 years to try to build something. And I'm not going to do anything to allow anyone else to discredit what we're doing, and that's just the bottom line, so, it'd be like me, getting a sponsor, and he's giving me X amount of money. And then all of a sudden I find out that he's a child molester. You know what I mean? It's like, that's going to end right there and then, it ain't going to happen on any level, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I kind of stay clear of doing what I call the cold case sponsors. Because you don't know these people, at least with a sponsor that that they may be a family man or, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. So in my case, that's what, why I kind of stick with, people that know people or people that I've worked with for years and years and years. I don't really do the cold case thing, cold call thing or whatever, just because, for one, I don't want to be told no. and for two, I don't know what their mindset is. You know what I mean? You may walk into something and they hate wrestling.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That you could find a sponsor that says yes, but if you don't know them, then you don't know, what baggage they bring with them. That could hurt.
Yeah, you don't know what their reputation is outside the community. I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's kind of funny that you say that because the guy that I was telling you guys that owns the food company that does the meal prep or whatever. His ex-girlfriend actually runs the strip club here. And they approached me about, doing that. And I absolutely told them no. I was like, I get it. It's legal, this, that, and the other. But, I know, if, people find out that, I'm affiliated with the strip club, then people are going to be judgmental. The same way with this. All my wrestlers go to the local gay club after the show. And it's a nice bar, nice that and the other. But I know for a fact if I approached them and said, hey, you guys want to be a sponsor, and they wanted to be a sponsor, there'd be 10 people that would be beating down my door thinking that that's, God sent, blah, 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 and you just don't want that, So, yeah. It's a weird world in which we live in, guys. You guys know we see it every single day on social media and on the news or whatever, everybody. I tell people this all the time, and I just posted this this morning. There's 3 things that I absolutely refuse to talk about on social media, and that's sports, religion, and politics. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as you post about anything about any of that, you're going to have people beat down your door. That's totally the opposite of the way you think and feel. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be judgmental towards you, and that may cost you a fan.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, a question I have, and this goes out to Donnie and John as well. How prevalent or how much has these fly-by-night promoters that are taking the money and running, how much trouble have they caused in the industry recently?
Recently,
yeah.
Donnie, I think you're gonna. I hope you agree with me on this, but I think that there has been in the Columbus area, there's been a promoter or two that has kind of caused major havoc when it comes to running a wrestling show. As Tom pointed out, if you get burned, business people are not willing to go, yeah, we'll give you money.
Exactly.
Especially when promises have been made and they haven't been fulfilled. And I think it makes it incredibly hard to try to get that stink off of you, so to speak. I'm also going to throw this out there too, and I don't know, maybe Tom and Donnie will disagree with me. I think too, not only here in Columbus, here in Columbus, I'll speak from that. I don't know how it is in other parts of the state or whatnot. I think that sometimes it's tough to compete for money in Columbus with wrestling when you have OSU football going on, or you have the Blue Jackets playing, or you have, I think there's competition for that dollar. And I think that also factors in a little bit, but rest assured, there's been some shady stuff that's gone down in the past in Columbus that's caused major headaches. Right, Donnie?
Yeah, I agree. And this is like a perfect segue for that story I wanted to tell for Tom's to go on his rant.
Oh, I can't wait, Donnie.
Yeah, but it ties into like sponsorship and cold call and what John pointed out. There was a time, probably a couple years ago, a buddy of mine was partnered with me, and he was here to help me get sponsorships. And he had an in with Donato's. So, we got all of our ducks in a row. We, told them what we, and this was before we had the fair and the Arnold. So we were just a local, promotion that just ran shows at Kickmaster. We didn't have, the backing or support of, bigger names than an indie. And so he went into to Donato's, and he had 3 different meetings with the Donato's and explained his case and pitched us, showed him our videos and our stuff, our quality of wrestling. And after 3 meetings, they pretty much told us no, because they had worked with a promoter in the past, and that they gave the promoter X amount of dollars in exchange for what was promised. And they actually sent a Donato's representative to this show. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I don't want to misinterpret what he told me, but somebody from Donato's went to the show, and they had no Donato's advertising at all. They didn't promote them on social media. They didn't promote them on their advertising. They didn't promote them during the live event. They did absolutely nothing for the Donato's, which Donato's is a major pizza brand.
Yeah, that's a national brand.
Yeah, and so they kind of have a bad taste in their mouth now for professional wrestling, especially at Columbus Professional Wrestling, because this is where the main headquarters is. And so that ties in like all this stuff we're talking about. We went in, he kind of knew somebody, but he got all the way up to the main person, which is a cold call. And like you had asked before about like a sponsor not fulfilling their agreement on the sponsorship deal, which is a role reversal here, because in this case, the wrestling promotion didn't fulfill the agreement. And then also, like John was just saying about it, gives professional wrestling a bad rap. And, even though we're a legit promotion and we do everything we can to do it the right way, and we would absolutely put Donato's all over the place if they did ever decide to sponsor. Right.
I was gonna say, Donnie, one of my wrestlers would be dressed up as the Domino's guy getting his ass kicked.
Yeah, and so when he came back and told me that, I was just baffled. I was like, that's why Columbus wrestling is so hard to get going, because of crap like that. And so, this is where I'll turn it over to you and get your opinion on this. And because I know you always talk about it.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I will say this. Most people don't realize there's like 40 promotions that run in the state of Ohio.
Yeah.
And you sit here and you think about it, and I'll how Donnie was going to give you a personal story. I'll give you a personal story too on why people consider me an asshole and that sort of thing when it comes to the business. There is a group that comes around here every couple of years or whatever, and they want to do a show, and it's actually, one of them is my ex-business partner. And bottom line to this is he kind of did what Donnie just said. He went out and solicited sponsors and got this, that, and the other, and said it was a cancer benefit and all this other stuff. And when it was all said and done, the charity got no money. None of the wrestlers got paid, and they didn't pay none of the bills from the show. And in my case, as far as a little town that I'm in, everybody knows everybody. And I refuse, and I think Donnie even know this, because I even posted something about a month or so ago, because they're talking about running again a charity show here in November. I will go so far as to say, we're not affiliated with that. We have nothing to do with that. And this, that, and the other. And this is what we plan on doing, maybe kind of do a little damage control per se. We'll find out what that charity they're going to do an event for is. And we will write them a check in War Wrestling's name to make sure that charity gets some money. Because the bottom line is we are all judged together. The good, the bad, and the ugly is all judged together. It's all independent wrestling. Unless it says WWE on it, we're all grouped together. People can say Impact is good, Ring of Honor is good, blah, blah, blah. 90% of people in the casual fan has no clue what independent wrestling is.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't,
Yep.
But going back to you, Donnie, I will tell you this, when you told me you was getting the state fair, I was excited for you, because I was actually a part of the last wrestling that was there when it was Bill Behrens and them. He got hooked up, and they had Abyss and Scott Steiner and all that on those shows. We actually rented the ring and stuff for him and helped him out. And I knew right from the jump, once I got there, that they were going to burn major bridges, because, we're in a 5,000 seat arena, horse arena or whatever, and there's maybe 100 people there, 200 people there, and I know, they were flying these guys in and paying them all this money or whatever. And here's the thing, that guy's in Georgia. What can he actually do for the local Ohio State Fair?
All right.
You know what I mean? So, it's one of those things. It took a very, very long time, for them to kind of get the taste out of their mouth. And Donnie knows this for a fact. When he went into those meetings or whatever, he was kind of stepping on eggshells a little bit, and he kind of had to take it on the chin a little bit for the first year until he proved himself. And now,
absolutely.
They're willing to give him the key to the city because he proved himself. And that's the whole thing is I will tell everybody this, and they can say I'm an asshole, I'm this, I'm that. If I find out there's a show that's remotely in the area that I'm in, I will make a point to tell everybody that I know that we're not affiliated with that in any way, shape, or form, that buyer beware. I even go so far as to say, tell the wrestlers, if you're booked on that show, get your money up front. That's just me. To me, it's just smart business, because here's the thing. When that company leaves, I'm still here.
Right.
When that company leaves and they burn all them bridges, I'm still here. So then I got to try to cross those bridges or whatever, But yeah, I've heard stories. Way back in the day, there was a promoter that ran up in I believe it was the Canton Akron area, somewhere around in that general area, and he walked out the door after the show with like $30,000. You know,
Wow.
I mean, it's just we have to kind of police our own selves when it comes to that. You know what I mean? Like I'm a firm believer. You know, we all know. We all know who was shady. You know, God rest his soul. You know, Bull Miller in the Columbus market. We know what he was about and all that. And here's the thing that's funny. You know, people still talk about him to this day about how bad the wrestling was. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and that's sad that people remember that. And it's going to be hard to get that casual fan to now come and support another show.
Okay.
It is.
Yep.
You know,
The reason I brought up that particular subject was it was about a year ago. There was a promoter starting a new show over in Muncie, Indiana, and I bought front row tickets for the show. They were having trouble with they were using Ticket Leap, I think it was, for their tickets. But my first warning should have been that they were having issues. I couldn't buy the tickets through Ticket Leap. So I reached out to the promoter and PayPal'd her the money for the tickets. That was my second mistake. And then it's like we get these messages, the show's canceled. They had booked Crazy Steve and Abyss and some other names. And I never got my money back, and they finally shut down their Twitter and Facebook. I could never find them again.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised by that at all. You know, like I said, for every one good, solid promoter out there, there's 10 more that are just con men trying to make a quick buck. And, you know, and that's sad on every level because, you know, like in our case, you know, like I've said before, our fans look at our guys as legitimate stars. But, you know, going back to a couple of things that I said about policing yourself, here's another thing that people fail to realize is we need to police ourselves. Why should Abyss and say Crazy Steve, you mentioned them too, you know,
Right.
Why should they take it as a handshake agreement or a word of mouth that, hey, we're going to be there? Because at the end of the day, if that show's canceled, you know, that also hurts the reputation of those wrestlers too, you know,
Sure.
and a lot of people don't realize that, you know. I always try to deliver what I'm promised. Yes, it does say card subject to change at the bottom. You know what I mean? It does. There's certain circumstances that you just cannot control. But in my case or whatever, you know, like you go back to the Muncie thing. I actually used to do a lot of work in the Muncie area back in the day. So I'm pretty familiar with some of the people in that general area. And probably what the case was is that someone knew that there used to be wrestling in that area. They decided to get 2 or 3 of their friends together, and they decided that, hey, we're a lifelong wrestling fan. Let's run a show. So what they do is they go and they start contacting all these guys and this, that, and the other, and they magically think it's going to happen. You know, that they're just going to do a show and you know, 5,000 people are going to show up, you know, and it doesn't work that way. You know, independent wrestling doesn't work that way at all. Like I tell people, I could spend $10,000 on advertising and I might draw an extra 250 people. So is that really worth $10,000 invested? You know, so that, you know, that's the big thing. You got to look at it. You know, like you said, that probably put a bad taste in your mouth because you lost money and you didn't get what was delivered to you, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so think about that. So think about that even in the state of Ohio, you know, like I said, there's 40 promotions that run in the state of Ohio, and, you know, we're all competing for wrestling fans. We're all competing for the same areas. Like I said, I know, you know, of promoters that don't pay the wrestlers, you know, they burn every bridge known to man. Like even when I lived in the Columbus market for 10 years, I actually thought about running a few shows back in the day. And every single building that I went into said, no, we don't want wrestling because IWA ran here and they screwed me over. You know, I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. You know, I mean, God rest his soul. But, you know, that's why I refuse, you know, to, you know, align myself with that or make it easy on them. I'm not going to make, you know, I bust my ass. I'm not going to make it on anybody easy to come into the area that I run to make money off of my fan base and my hard work or whatever, try to piggyback off of it. I'm not going to allow it to happen. You know, I mean, there's very, very few people in this business that I would go to bat for, you know, and that's just the name of the game. Like I said, I went up to Toledo last Thursday. The guy's trying to make it work up there. Toledo market's a tough market. And I went up there with another buddy and helped out with the ring and this, that, and the other. And I gave the guy some pointers or whatever, because guess what? I don't want him to run just one show. I want him to run 20 shows, and that way the wrestlers all get 20 bookings and 20 paydays, and the crowd gets to see the show 20 times, you know. So, yeah, I mean, you definitely got to go above and beyond, and you definitely got to deliver what was promised to the fans from the jump.
Yep. Let me ask you a question, Jim, and this will probably prove the whole point of this topic.
Sure.
When you say promoter A was in Muncie, you went and got the tickets and you got screwed over like that. Say 6 months down the road, promoter B comes in to Muncie and starts running advertising for their event. What's the chances you're going to reach out and do that again and buy their tickets?
Slim and none.
All right.
There you go.
That's our point, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly the point, you know. And actually, Donnie, I wanted to tell you this. I actually talked to the promoter from the Infinity. Is that the one that's come?
Infinity Pro.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I actually talked to him the other day. He reached out to me or whatever, and we actually had a private conversation. And it was pretty funny on me enlightening him on the Columbus market and all of that. And needless to say, I would dare say he's probably got a different perspective on things and a different mentality going into it. And I actually told him, you know, he actually is pretty funny because he actually asked me about helping them. And my exact words to him is I'm friends with Donnie and I won't do that to him.
Right.
And
I appreciate that.
You know, it ain't about money to me. It ain't about, you know, whatever, you know. And the thing is, as long as, you know, Columbus is a big enough market to where you guys can all coexist. But the bottom line of it is you're not going to go out of your way to help him if he does bad business.
Right.
You know, I tell people that all the time, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem helping anybody here in the Columbus market if they do it, you know, if they do good business the right way to where it's beneficial to the wrestling, you know, in general, the wrestling business, you know. But yeah, if they're not doing it right and stuff like that, then yeah, I'm not going to have any interest in helping anybody. But, you know, I'm always open to help whoever, you know.
Yep, absolutely.
So this has been a very enlightening show. A lot of great advice for possibly new promoters out there or promoters that need to straighten themselves up and fly a little bit straighter. Any last words of advice that you can give anybody listening out there, Tom?
I think the one big thing from me is if you know, say you're newer to wrestling and you want to promote a show, reach out to the people that got a longevity, you know, reach the ones out that got, time invested into the company and time invested into professional wrestling. You know, I always use the analogy, you know, that stood the test of time. I tell people, you know, why do people shop at McDonald's? Because they got a history. They got people know about them, you know, and it's the same way professional wrestling, you know. I mean, reach out to the guys that have done it, you know. That's why, you know, even Donnie's got more, about the same time, maybe even a little bit more time in wrestling than me. But he reached out to me on the promoting side because I've been in the line of fire for 17 years. But that's the number one thing I would say is, you know, don't automatically assume that if you want to get in professional wrestling as a promoter that it's magically going to happen. I tell people this, and I even think I told Donnie this, you know, be prepared to lose money the first year, no matter what. You know, no matter what, you're going to lose money. You know, there's something that's going to pop up. Even like Donnie knows this. You know, he rents a ring, and now he wants to get his own ring, and that's going to save him money. But the reality of it is that initial investment in the ring is going to cost his company money. But down the road, it's going to save him money. And a lot of guys don't look at it that way. You know, they just think throwing money at something and buying radio and buying TV and bringing in a name is automatically going to draw a crowd, and that's not the case at all.
No.
You know, so yeah, I mean, like I said, I'll help out anybody. Donnie knows that. You know, Donnie will help out anybody. You know, we're all grouped together in this. But I will tell anybody this, and this may come to a shock, but if I knew 17 years what I know now, I would have never ran a show. I'm just being honest. I mean, it's a tough world. It really, truly is, you know, to realize that, you know, I always use the analogy that independent professional wrestling is the bastard child of Satan.
Wow. Jeez. I think we can just end the show on that. We're done.
We can't follow that up with anything. I mean, that's sage advice and a unique outlook there at the end. That's great. Tom, thanks once again for being a part
Absolutely.
of Wrestle Horror. I'm sure this won't be the last time we have you on. There's always a topic that we're going to come up with, and down the road, we'd like to have a good long relationship with you on the show.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, any friend of Donnie is a friend of mine, and if I can help you guys out in any way, hell, I'll tell you what, man. Send me some links, and I'll put it in my program for our next show in September, whatever, for your guys' podcast and all of that. And
Okay.
I'll put it right in. I'll put it right in the programs that I do because I'm the one that does it and prints it. I'll put all that stuff right in our programs, and then I'll tell everybody, hey, go to this podcast and listen. And it's not just wrestling. There's multiple things that you can learn and be excited about. So
Cool.
Very cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Yes,
Thanks.
thank you.
absolutely.
Once again, I want to thank John Orlando. And before I sign off this time, John,
Yeah.
why don't you promote your podcast?
Oh, thank you. PVD Cast is my private podcast. It's my own personal podcast, pvdcast.com, and it's available a ton of other places. Just basically every single podcast platform out there should be carrying it. I just uploaded, the newest episode where I sit down and talk to a local author by the name of Terry W. Irvin. He writes a lot of different genres, science fiction, fantasy, a little bit of revenge stories as well, a little bit of everything. It was a great, fun time talking to him. He's actually also a village councilman, so we even managed to fit in a little politics. But pvdcast.com is where you can find it. You can find me on Twitter at PVDMVP, and visit the Facebook page, which is at PVDcast over there on Facebook as well.
Excellent. Donnie, any last words on your end?
No, just thank you guys for coming on again, Tom. It's, when you
Yep.
talk, I listen. That's just the way it is. You've been, I'm smart enough to realize as long as you've done it to pay attention to what you say, because you've seen the good and the bad. And so that's the reason we like having you on here, is to try to help others. And so any sponsorship questions, you can reach out to Wrestle Horror. You can reach out to Big Tom. And you can reach out to me personally. We'll try to do what we can to get you the right answers or point you in the right direction. And
Yep.
just thanks everybody for all their input.
And Tom, what about social media, website, everything for War Wrestling?
Yeah, I'm just War Ohio, www.warohio is our business page. Actually, my light bulb just blew out in my thing. There's a little bit of a horror for you.
I'm looking over your shoulder.
Blew out in my thing. But,
I'm looking over your shoulder, waiting for somebody to come up on you.
Yeah, it would be a razor knife to my back or something. But no, you can tap into my social media. I have Twitter, War Ohio. We have Instagram, which is War Wrestling and all that. And you can actually tap into War Wrestling's. It's the wrestling page, or whatever. But it's my personal name, which is Thomas Williams. But it actually has the War Wrestling logo on it or whatever. They can reach out to me. I'll answer any questions or concerns that they have. And I'm just glad to be a part of this, guys.
Cool.
Awesome. And I'm going to close it off by saying you can also check out me on my podcast, BigScaryShow.com, for everything Halloween, horror, and haunt related. So we've just got a little bit of everything going on in here. It's been a great time, Tom. Once again, thank you, guys. Awesome show, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
You guys have a great night.
See you guys later.
Thanks, Tom.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media outlets: Facebook.com/WrestleHorror, Instagram @WrestleHorror, Twitter @WrestleHorror, on our YouTube channel, the Wrestle Horror Channel. Also, you can find us at www.wrestlehorror.com.